everyone, I'm Helene here at Cabin Fever Crochet with a couple of friends and all of you, my fiber friends out there. Thank you so much for being here for today's tutorial of my slouchy hat. And I call it the Daydreams because earlier this year I came out with my Daydreams shawl, and I took the basic stitch pattern, modify, revise, change up the numbers to work it in the round and to come up with this slouchy hat. It's worked in the round from the bottom up, various sizes, easy to customize and change that. Add in repeats if you need to, use various yarns. I'm going to give you all that information. If you're using a thinner yarn, you can add in one more repeat in the band to get the width that I show you in the tutorial, and it's about 1.5 inches wide. Okay, and you can also easily add one more repeat, the 2-row repeat of the body of the hat itself. And I break this down into 3 sections: the band, the body of the hat, and then the decrease section, to make that easier to separate and then go back to. And the have a timestamp also in the drop down description box, taking you round by round and section by section. There, and here you go. Thought you might like to see this on an actual human head, so you can get a sense of what it looks like in the 2 sizes in comparison. So you can see all the drape and the slouchy and back. And I do have it here in my ears, so I do have it pushed back a little bit, but you can bring it down if it gets a little more chilly. You can bring it down like that. And what I do sometimes with the slouchy hat, if I'm going in a store and I'm getting a little bit warm, and I will just fold up the band a little bit, and then I can pop that back more, see, on my head. And I can have just a little lightweight little beanie on there too. Or if I want a full beanie, then I could just bring it down a little bit more on my head. And then it takes up most of the space and back, depending on which size. Now let me try the green one. I like green a lot. There. I think it even can work with this magenta with the right accessories, little pair, little jewelry or something, even keeping it simple. But there you go. Even though this one did come out smaller, it's definitely lighter weight. Still have the drape in back, but it's less fullness to it. Great, so let's get to the tutorial. And I'm going to be adding this into my Crochet Bestsellers playlist. I believe it's another one that could do really well for you. Yarn types, I suggest any weight from, say, a number 2 light up to a lighter end of the number 4. You can try a little bit thicker number 4, even light, chunky if you want to, but keep in mind, because get the fullness of a slouchy hat, the more weight you have of the yarn, heavier it's going to be and tend to drag the back end down. And it will also vary on the type of yarn, how light the yarn is itself, in the type of fiber and the density, how it is spun. And no matter the yarn you choose, 1 hang skein cake ball should be enough for all the hat sizes given, with the exception of this one that I'm working up in the tutorial. That is We Crochet Knit Picks. Their Shine worsted weight in the multi. The multi is new hank for 2023. You only get 150 yards with this, but it will be enough for the average size. I wasn't entirely sure. Plus, I like contrasting sometimes, so that's why I pulled in my stash, picked out the discontinued Hobby Lobby Hint of Silk for the band, because they're both rather similar weights and thicknesses, and they are both natural fibers. This is mostly bamboo with a little bit of silk, and this is Pima cotton with modal, which is plant fiber pulp, usually from beech wood. So they act and work up pretty much the same. This one came out larger than the rest. Okay, this is just about 9.5 inches from top to bottom and 24.5 centimeters, and the width, and it did stretch a little after having it on, but it's about 10 inches wide at the widest point, 10.5 to about 26.5 centimeters. The second hat here, this is worked up in Hobbii, their Universe XL, which is the DK, does have some sparkle, 100% acrylic roving style, which goes from thick to thin, not dramatically so, maybe a little in some places, but pretty consistent, and I like how it gives such dimension and texture. And so this came in at 9.5 inches long, 25 centimeters by just about the same in width. And this hat worked up to be the same. Lighter weight, number 4, also acrylic, Michaels Loops and Threads, their Facets yarn, which is the same as Red Heart's Unforgettable, but I actually really like the way this worked up a lot. They have a lot of beautiful colors. So for all three, even the different gauges of yarn, I used an H5mm hook. I went down from what the ball band recommended of the shine, and I went up from the Hobbii. Another mainstream yarn, which I think would be lovely for a lighter weight, is the Lion Brand CoBoo, which is 50/50 cotton bamboo, and that would be very breathable as well. So say going into early fall, still summer where you are, or going into summer, cooler summer evenings perhaps, or again a more moderate climate, early spring, that would be lovely. Okay, so I'm using the H5mm throughout. You will need 1 to 2 stitch markers and either a row counter, something to keep track. So go ahead, make your slip knot however you like to do yours, and there are 2 ways that you can work this. You can either begin with a chain, or you can work a foundation double crochet, which builds the chain and the double crochet in one, which is what I'm going to be doing. I prefer that for this particular project. You get a nice stretchy fabric, and there's no over tightening with the beginning chain. And we're working in multiples of 3, so you chain 3, 3, 3, 3 to fit comfortably around your head, and that is not the circumference of your head, but around your head as if you're wearing a hat. Okay, comfortably but not tight. If it feels a little snug, go up 3 more, because the nature of the post stitches draws your work in anyway. You don't want that to get over tightened either. And if you are working the beginning chain, double check your count, and I do highly recommend going up 1 hook size for that beginning chain only, to prevent your base from becoming over tightened. Right, once you finished your chain, make sure the right side is out facing you and it's straight, no twists in your work whatsoever, because that will really mess you up. Then go ahead and slip stitch to that beginning very first chain. Okay, and that chain does not count as a round. And now for your round 1, you will chain 2, does not count as a stitch. You can cinch that down, and then place 1 double crochet into the first same beginning stitch, and 1 double crochet in each remaining chain all the way around. That's it. 1 double crochet in each chain around, and then when you get back to the beginning, we all will slip stitch into that first beginning double crochet. Not the chain 2, but the first double crochet. Alright, so I am going to briefly show you here how I do my foundation double crochet, which is revised from the traditional version. And if you'd like a more extended tutorial of that, I have a standalone short tutorial of this, and the link is in the drop down description section here in this video. Alright, so I begin with a chain 2. That does not count as a stitch. Yarn over, and in that center back bump here, the raised bump in the center. That is your third loop. That's where I'm going to insert my hook. Yarn over, pull up a loop to the height of the rest on your hook, to that of a double crochet. So you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the first. You've created your first chain. Now yarn over and work your double crochet. You pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So here's your chain, there's your double crochet. Again, yarn over, insert your hook through both loops of your chain. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Again, yarn over, pull through the first. You've created now another chain. And now work your double crochet. And this is what you do over and over in multiples of 3, okay, to go around your head. And now be sure to count when you have finished this, because your stitch count is very important. So make sure you have your number for an average ladies size head, which average in the US is 22 1/4 inches or 56.5 centimeters. That is a lady's average. Alright, so you either be, maybe if you have a smaller head, real small head, or for a youth maybe 54 inches, smaller adult 57, 60 average. If you have a larger head, then I would say 63. So somewhere in there. Alright, so continue working this, and when you count, be sure you do not count your first chain 2. So if you want, you can place a stitch marker here into your first full double crochet, not the chains, and you are working, this is the right side of your work. So if you want to mark that also, perhaps then you could just put the stitch marker on the post, okay, just below the top stitches, if you want just to mark the 2 at the same time. Okay, hope that makes sense. The top of your double crochet, just below that there's your post. So you know this is the first stitch right here, okay, and you're on the right side of your work. And if you're working the chain, then you just go ahead and work those multiples of 3, and I will see you when I have finished mine. I've finished the length of my foundation double crochet. We're going to bring the 2 ends together to form a ring. First, you want to make sure your working end is on the outside, not on the inside of the ring, on the outside away from you. And when you bring your 2 ends together, you want the right side on the outside, okay, and no twists in your work. One nice, smooth, continuous ring. So this is where I finished my last foundation double crochet, and there is my tail end on the bottom left. Okay, so the top of the work, those are your stitches, the bottom is the chain. No twists in the work. Yay, very good. Now insert your hook back into the loop and into your first full double crochet, not into the beginning 2 chains. Slip stitch to join, and then I take my stitch marker, and for at least the first round I will insert it through the stitch on the right on one side and then on the left on the other, to keep the 2 sides together and prevent those from twisting as you're working, especially if you've worked the chain. That was round 1, if you hadn't figured that out. Okay, so now moving on to round 2. Super easy. We're going to chain 1, does not count as a stitch, and into the very first stitch that we just slip stitched into, work 1 single crochet and 1 single crochet in each remaining double crochet all the way around. That is it for round 2. 1 single crochet in each double crochet around, and I will see you back at the end. I'm back at the end of round 2, our single crochet round. One more stitch to go, that very last at the end where you connected to the other side. Don't omit that, that's a stitch. Single crochet. You can always double check your stitch count here if you like. Alright, round 3 of the band. Slip stitch to the beginning, single crochet, chain 2. Again, does not count as a stitch. You can cinch those down a little if you like, and they will, as we work up, they tend to push themselves to the back as we work the post stitches. Alright, so this is a little bit different here. So I want you to take a look. Remember, this was the slip stitch, our beginning chain 2 of the double crochet that first round, so don't count those. This is our first full stitch, the first full double crochet. So we're going to work a front post double crochet around the top, not 2 full rows below at the bottom, but at the top, so which is just below the single crochet. See where the spaces, the holes are, and you have that loop at the bottom. We're going to work right into those holes below the single crochets above the loop. Okay, so yarn over, insert your hook front to back and then back to front into those spaces and double crochet. And make sure when you pull your loop up that you pull it up again nice and tall to the height of a double crochet. Alright, so now to the next stitch, the next double crochet. We're going to work 1 back post double crochet around each of the next 2 double crochets, and again into these holes, these spaces just below the single crochets. Now yarn over, and you're going to work a back to front this time around the top of the post and front to back, and it helps by pinching these 2 sides together, gives you more control, and I find I hang up less with my yarn. You know, sometimes you can get hung up a little bit with these stitches. Okay, so there's one, and now again the next stitch through the little space on the right of it around the post and down through the space to the left. Pinch the 2 sides together, yarn over, pull up that loop nice and tall, and work the double crochet. So that's our sequence. 1 front post double crochet in the next, 1 back post double crochet around each of the next 2. It's my squeaky chair. How long have I been talking about this squeaky chair now? Alright, so that's what it's going to look like. Pretty cool, huh? You get this nice raised part in the center, some interesting texture and separation. Alright, again, now it's time for the front post double crochet, followed by 1 back post double crochet around each of the next 2. Okay, and there you go. You continue this all the way around. Next round will be a single crochet round, and then we'll do 1 more post stitch round like this one. And once you've worked the first time, as we are doing the first round of it, it's much easier to see and work the next time. And then that will be it for our band. Okay, so I will see you back around now at the end of round 3. I'm at the end of round 3 now, our first post stitch round, and you see how much smaller my circle is now that I've worked it, how the post stitches tend to draw it in. Okay, alright, so I have 3 stitches left. Thought I would work those with you. Just want to make sure you can take that stitch marker out now. It's not going to twist, so you can see your last stitch. Your last stitch is that very one hanging out there at the end here. Okay, so my last three, it's going to be one front post double crochet followed by the two back post. And since that last one you don't have really a hole, much of a hole to put that in, you can just fit that in between. It's a little bit right there at the bottom of your last single crochet. You see it right there at the bottom. Just fit it in there the best you can. It'll go in. Alright, so there we go. That's it. That completes round 3. And now round 4, that is the single crochet round. Okay, so again, on over, join to your first front post double crochet. These are all slip stitches in that beginning chain 2. Okay, and now we're going to chain 1. Again, does not count as a stitch. Single crochet in the top of that first front post double crochet, and again single crochet in each remaining stitch all the way around. That is round 4. Okay. Single crochet in every front post and back post double crochet around. I have finished my single crochet round, and now we're going to skip the slip stitches and the chain 2s from below and slip stitch directly into your beginning single crochet. You can stop for the band if you like it as it is, which I think looks nice. I'm just going to do mine, that final round, to make mine a little bit higher, taller. Alright, and if you're going to do the same, then that will be round 5. Okay, and we're going to then repeat the front post back post round. So chain 2, again, does not count as a stitch. You can cinch those down, and do not work around the chain 2 below. You go to your first front post double crochet. There's the first single crochet, and again it's right below in the little spaces on each side of the top of your front post stitch. Okay, yarn over again, insert your hook front to back, behind the post and back to front, out the other side, yarn over, pull up a loop, finish your double crochet, followed by one back post in each of the next 2, just as you have been on the previous round before last. Okay, there's one, there's your next, and it's much easier to see and insert your hook into now. Okay, so front post double crochet around the next, one back post double crochet around each of the next 2, and that's all there is to this round. Okay, so I will see you back at the beginning, and then we'll begin the pattern of our hat. If working in a thinner, lighter weight yarn and you want your band to the height of 1.5 inches, this is where you would repeat rows 4 and 5. I'm back at the end of round 5, the final round of the band post stitch. So now when I get to my last back post double crochet, again you will have to just fit the second portion, so you go back to front around the post and fit it in around in between that post and that little space where you joined. Okay, hope you could see that. Want to see that again? Right here, the space, push it right in there, finish your back post, and now if you're working in the same color, slip stitch the top of your front post double crochet, or of course if you ended with the last round, then that would be your beginning single crochet. Now I'm going to change colors. I'm going to back out to the last leg of my back post double crochet, and I'm going to insert my new yarn and bring that through to complete the stitch. Cinch that down a little bit, as much as I can. Leave enough of a tail to weave that in. And now I will slip stitch to the top of my front post double crochet. Grab my scissors. And I'm going to cut the yarn I am not using. In fact, I need to make that tail a little longer, I think. And make sure I have enough to sew in. And what I like to do is I'll sew those in later, but I'll just tie, not a real loose knot, I want to keep it together, but I just tie a little bow right here just to keep that in place, out of my way. Okay, oh boy, here we go. Clearing the stitch marker and now beginning the pattern of the hat for round 1. Now we're going to chain 3, and that counts now as our first double crochet. Alright, and into your beginning stitch. Here it's my front post double crochet, or maybe the single crochet if you stopped one row below. And now into that same beginning stitch, work 3 more double crochets, which gives you a total of 4, counting your beginning chain 3. Now we're going to skip 2, work 4 double crochets into the next. And adding that 4th stitch, remember we began with a multiple of 3 stitches, so adding the 4th stitch counts as an increase, which will give us that width and that kind of balloon effect for the slouchy hat. Alright, and this is our repeat all the way around. Skip the next 2, 4 double crochets in the next. And if you worked the band such as I did with that last post stitch round, it's easy to see because it's each skip 2, 4 in the next takes you to each front post double crochet around. So you just skip the 2 and work 4 double crochets into the top of each front post double crochet around. Okay, and I will see you at the end. Okay, here we go, moving on to round 2. Okay, round 2, slip stitch to the top of your chain 3, the 3rd chain up. Alright, at the beginning of this round you may either start with an alternate double crochet plus a chain 4 or chain 7, which counts the first 3 chains as your first double crochet plus chain 4. Alright, so either chain 7 or work an alternate double crochet. And usually if I'm working the alternate double crochet at the beginning of a row, I turn and I do not chain 1, but in the round I am going to chain 1 first, bring that down, and then single crochet in that same beginning chain of your chain 3 double crochet. Okay, do the single crochet there, and then into the front left loop insert your hook, work another single crochet, and do that one more time. Front left loop, single crochet. That counts as a first double crochet. and then now my chain 4. We're going to work to the right for our first cross stitch, which sets us up for the rest of the round. Okay, so you skip the next 2 double crochets and then double crochet into the third. You cross over the chains and the alternate, or your chain 3 is your double crochet that you just made, and then you double crochet into that third stitch to the right. You're working around these stitches, okay? Creates your cross stitch. Now the first gets tucked down below, so you want to pull that up, count over your 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then here is the top of my alternate double crochet. I'm going to place a stitch marker in here, which will be much easier to see as I come back around, because that's where we're going to slip stitch into. And now working to the left all the way around, your repeat is skip the next 3 double crochets, double crochet into the next, which is going to be the first double crochet in the next set of 4. Okay, so double crochet, chain 4, and then work a cross stitch double crochet into that first skipped double crochet 3 over from the double crochet just made. Okay, double crochet and around the double crochet in the chains, and there's your second cross stitch. Okay, again skip over the cross stitches you just made, or the cross stitch plus the chains, this whole group. You skip the next 3, because remember you first worked in to the first one, which is going to be leaning over. So you skip the first because you worked into it, that has been spoken for. Now you skip the next 3, double crochet into the next, again the first double crochet in the next set of 4. Chain 4 and double crochet in that first skipped double crochet. Again, the first one is spoken for. Cross over the stitches just made into the third unworked double crochet over and double crochet. Alright, I'm going to take you through that one more time. Skip over the set you just worked, including the first double crochet in that set of 4 to the left. You skip the next 3, and remember you're just always jumping over, skipping this whole set of 4, working into the first double crochet in the next group. Double crochet, chain 4, double crochet into the first skipped double crochet. Okay, repeat this all the way around, and I will meet you at the end of our last set of 4. I'm back at the end of round 2 of our hat pattern. Thought I would work the last section together with you. Okay, so skipping over the next 3 unworked stitches and double crocheting into the next, which is the first double crochet in that first group of 4 that we did not work into at the beginning. Work my double crochet, chain 4, and then my crossover double crochet the third stitch over into that first skipped stitch. Okay, and then now where my stitch marker is, that is where I'm going to slip stitch into, which is either the top of my alternate double crochet or your top of your chain 3. So you will have 4 chains going across unworked, and then you work into that third one up from the bottom, or the fifth one over if you're counting from left to right. Okay, so that is the top of my alternate double crochet, slip stitch. Okay, and now for round 3. Rounds 2 and 3 will be our next repeat. Okay, so this is round 3. Slip stitch now into that chain 4 space, and then chain 3 as your first double crochet, and you can do an alternate if you like, but I think the chain 3 blends just fine. And then now, as we did on round 1, work 3 more double crochets into the chain 4 space this time, giving you a total of 4, counting your beginning chain 3. You're just going to work 4 double crochets in every chain 4 space all the way around. That's it. 4 double crochets into each chain 4 space. Okay, that's it. I'll see you back around after I've completed my last 4. We will join and begin our repeat. At the end of round 3, okay, and I just want you to take a look. The way we work the cross stitches over just to the left a little, it offsets the shells, the set of 4 shells a little bit. And I like linear sometimes where they're just stacked on top of each other. I like that look too, but for this I liked it just a little bit offset, and it just worked out well in the way that with connecting and how the stitches go. So, and also to me on the band portion, having the separation of the single crochets in between really helps define and give you that raised edge. And to me it takes on like a basket weave lattice or even a waffle stitch look. So just a little bit something different. Alright, so now we're going to repeat round 2, the cross stitch round. Oh boy, everybody's favorite, right? Okay, so slip stitch again to the top of your beginning chain 3, and either work your chain 7 or your alternate to double crochet, which is what I'm going to do again. It's a little bit tight and this yarn can be a little bit splitty, not overly so, but you just have to be a bit careful of that. Okay, so there's my alternate double crochet, chain 4. And then again, just give you a little quick reminder at the first, because we've already worked into this first stitch on the left, so the first group on the right, you skip the first 2, and then you double crochet into the third. Working around all those stitches. And at this point, I just find it's easier to bring your stitches up, insert that stitch marker into the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th stitch over, which will either be your top of your chain 3 or the top of your alternate. Alright, again, so now you just skip over this whole next set of 4 shells, double crochet into the first double crochet of the next set. Chain 4 and double crochet in that first skip stitch, the third unworked stitch over. Okay, pop that in there and continue all the way around. So always remember the first stitch in the next set of 4, that one is accounted for. That's where you began. You skip over the next 3 unworked, double crochet into the next, the first of the next set of 4, chain 4, and double crochet in that first skip stitch. That's it. See you back around, and I'll work the last with you again together. Get you started one more time for row 3, and that will be our last repeat. We're just repeating rows 2 and 3 one more time. That's it. And then we begin the pattern into our decrease, which takes several rounds, and that will create the rest of our height while keeping and maintaining the same stitch pattern. Okay, I will see you there. Okay, so just jump on over, as we have been, to that very first double crochet in the set of 4. That first one we did not work. Double crochet, chain 4, and cross over, double crochet into the skip stitch, the third one over. Yay! So now again, slip stitch into the top of your alternate or 5th chain over from the left, and slip stitch into that chain 4 space. And now we're going to work round 3, 4 double crochets again in each chain 4 space all the way around, beginning with a chain 3 as your first, 3 more double crochets in that first chain 4 space for a total of 4, and then now 4 double crochets in each chain 4 space all the way around. I will meet you back at the end, and then we will begin our decrease section. Alright, I have finished my repeat of rows 2 and 3. And again, if you are working in a thinner, lighter yarn, need more fullness and or height, this is where you would repeat rows 2 and 3. It is starting to really take shape, show the stitches and the nice little texture and definition that you get. And now clear your row counter or new slate, whatever you're working with. We're going to start with row 1 now for our decrease section. As usual, insert your hook through both stitches of the top of your chain 3 and slip stitch. And again, either you're going to chain or work an alternate double crochet. So for the first decrease round, you're going to chain 6 now instead of 7. So the first 3 chains count as your first double crochet plus a chain 3 this time. Okay, or chain 1 and then work your alternate double crochet. And then chain 3. So the only change here on row 1 is you're working a chain 3 instead of a chain 4. Okay, so still for the beginning cross stitch, you skip the first 2, double crochet into the next, the third stitch over. Okay, as always, I suggest pulling that cross stitch up. And then now you will count 1, 2, 3 chains over and pop your stitch marker into that 4th chain to the right or the top of your alternate double crochet. And again, jump on over, skipping the cross stitch section, the next 3, and into that first double crochet in the next set of 4. Place a double crochet and now chain 3. And then cross stitch in that first skip stitch, and that is your repeat all the way around. Skip the next section, double crochet, and the next, chain 3, cross stitch back over in the first skip stitch like you have been doing. Repeat that around, and I will see you at the end. At the end of row 1 of our decrease section, I already completed my last set. Since by now I'm sure you have that down, I would hope so anyway. Alright, so now moving on to round 2. As before, slip stitch into either your beginning alternate double crochet or the top of your chain 3, and again slip stitch into, which is now the chain 3 space, and now as before chain up 3 as your first double crochet, and now place 2 more double crochets in your chain 3 space for a total of 3 double crochets, including that beginning chain 3. And now all the way around, what you're going to do, instead of placing 4 double crochets, you're going to place 3 double crochets in every chain 3 space all the way around. At the end of round 2 of our decrease section, and now these are going to really start going fast from here. Be surprised how quickly this works up. Okay, so now to begin round 3, and I'm going to try to remember to keep a little bit lower in frame here. See what I'm doing. Okay, as always, now slip stitch through both loops the top of your chain 3 of that counts as your beginning double crochet, and now we're going to work another decrease. They're all decreased from here on in, and this is the cross stitch round. So again, either this time you are going to, let's see, either do your alternate double crochet plus chain 2 or chain 5, so your first 3 chains or your first double crochet plus chain 2. Okay, so I'm going to do that alternate. Does that make sense what I just said? You chain 5, the first 3 count as your first double plus the chain 2. That makes sense. Alright, there's my alternate plus my chain 2 this time. Now you're going to skip the first double crochet and double crochet into the second. That middle double crochet to the right. And as always, pull up that beginning stitch, and then you count 1, 2, chains over, and place your stitch marker either in the third or the top of your alternate double. Okay, then now skip this set you just worked, skip the next 2, double crochet in the next, which is the first double crochet of now your set of 3, and that is going to be your repeat all the way across after you chain 2 and then double crochet in your first skipped double crochet, which is now your second chain to the, or double crochet, excuse me, your second double crochet to the right. And again, one more time you repeat. You skip the set you just worked, including the first double crochet of the set of 3 to the left of your cross stitch. Alright, you skip the next 2, and that takes you back to the first double crochet in the next set of 3, double crochet, chain 2, and cross stitch into the first skipped stitch, which is your second double crochet over to the right. And that is your repeat all the way across. Chain 2, double crochet in the skip stitch, skip the set, the next 2, double in the next, chain 2, double crochet, and I will see you back around. And here we are, already at the end of round 3 of our decrease section. Alright, so as always, now we're going to begin round 4 of the decrease. Slip stitch to either the top of your chain 3 or your alternate double crochet, and slip stitch into your chain 2 space. And 2 rows below, we work the 3 double crochet, so you guessed it. Now it's time for 2 double crochets, beginning with chain 3 as your first double and 1 double crochet in your chain 2 space, and then now all the way around place 2 double crochets in each chain 2 space. That's it for round 4. 2 double crochets in every chain 2 space all the way around, and as always I will meet you back at the end. And yes, this first chain 3 slants over a little bit, but as the work starts to draw in, we come around and connect. Don't worry, it's all going to look just as it should. Alright, at the end of round 4, just a few more to go, and we have finished with those big cross stitches. Woohoo! A round of applause. Yay! Because I don't know about you, but I've about had enough of those for this hat anyway. And as you can see, it's taking on that nice curve shape. So now to begin round 5, as always, slip stitch into the top of your chain 3 and either chain 3 as your first double crochet or work that alternate, and we're just going to do regular old cross stitches now for this round, and that will be our last round of cross stitches all together. Okay, now all you do is cross stitch double crochet into the very next double crochet to the right. You just cross over in front of the stitch you just made and double crochet into the next stitch to the right. That is it. And you can still place a stitch marker to the top of your chain 3 or alternate double if you like. And now working to the left all the way around as usual, you will now skip the next double crochet into the next, and then cross back over the double crochet you just made and double crochet in that skipped stitch directly to the right. And that is your repeat all the way around. Skip the next unworked double crochet. You've already worked these 2, so you skip the next unworked, double crochet into the next, cross over in front of that double crochet just made and double crochet in your skipped stitch just to the right of it. Skip the next unworked, double crochet in the next, cross over in your skipped stitch. Repeat this all the way around. Here we are, the end of round 5. Beginning round 6, we will be double crocheting every set of 2 cross stitches together. Double crocheting 2 together all the way around. And I worked this a multitude of ways, and what we're going to do here is what I came up with that I felt looked the best, and it also fills in any gaps, closes that up really nicely. Alright, so insert your hook into both loops of that first double, alternate double or chain 3 and slip stitch, chain 2, which does not count as a stitch for the beginning, just to get us up to the height we need, yarn over, insert your hook into the first double crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, and now insert your hook into the very next stitch to the left, yarn over, pull up a loop, nice and tall to the height of the rest of the loops on your hook. You have 4, yarn over, pull through the first 2, and now yarn over and pull through all 3. The next set of 2, and this is your repeat all the way around. Yarn over, insert your hook into the next double crochet, pull up a loop, again 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert your hook into the next double crochet, pull up a loop, again you have 4, yarn over, pull through 2, and now yarn over, pull through all 3. Now we're at the end of round 6. 2 more to go, for real this time. Oops, starting with round 7. Round 7. Okay, slip stitch. I lost my, I guess I forgot to put it in, but yeah, oh yeah, and I forgot to show you that. Oh well, sorry. There's your chain 2 that does not count, so that is the top of your first stitch. Right here, see, you can see where we crocheted the 2 together. 2 chains don't count, so there's the top of the stitch. You can see the full stitch, front and back loop, slip stitch into there, okay, and now we're going to single crochet in every double crochet all the way around. Chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and back into that same beginning double crochet that we just slip stitched into, work 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet into the next, and the next, and every double crochet all the way around. Okay. Okay, that's it. See you at the end. Well, that sure went fast. Alright, round 8. Final round, just to close that top center hole up a little bit more. Okay, so there's our slip stitch. You can always put your stitch marker, if you're not sure, into the top of your beginning stitch. Now we're going to slip stitch in the top of that beginning single crochet. Don't accidentally work into the slip stitch. Cinch that down a little if you like. Chain 1, again, does not count as a stitch, and now we are going to single crochet 2 together all the way around. So insert your hook, no yarning over this time, just insert your hook directly into that same very first stitch and pull up a loop, and now insert your hook into the next single crochet, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3. You can place your stitch marker in the beginning one if you like, and again, no yarning over, just insert your hook into the next, pull up a loop, insert your hook into the next, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. And that is your repeat all the way around. Insert, pull up a loop, into the next, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. It's getting a little tight, so take your time on this one. Don't over tighten or make them loose, just nice and smooth and even. Okay. This one goes so fast. I'll just finish this up here on camera. Now cinch your stitches down enough to close them, but without over tightening. and you will have to rotate your hat as you go. Okay, here I am already, my last two, and that little guy down there, that's the slip stitch, and then you just slip stitch to your beginning single crochet and chain one to lock that in, pull up a little bit, see, and that is all you have to cinch down. So cut your yarn. Doesn't take much now at all, just enough to go around and enough tail to weave in your ends. Okay, pull that loop up, cinch it down. Show you what I do to close in the top and to join the bottom ends together. Finish the hat together, shall we? Alright. I'm going to do what's called either a running stitch or a basting stitch. I'm going in the direction to where that little knot I just made with the yarn over leans, instead of going back the other way. To me, it causes the stitch to fold backwards, and it just doesn't lay right. So I just go underneath the bottom of the single crochet, down one, up the next, down the next, up the next, just weaving it in and out, all the way around. I pull it through every so often, and if you're not sure where you began, again, you can put your stitch marker in the first one if you like. It really doesn't matter if you wind up overlapping that first. It's just going to reinforce it. It's not going to hurt it, as long as you don't get too much fabric bunched up in there. Okay, so then I went up that one, so now I go down, up, and then, before you do this, you can even count how many stitches, how many single crochets that you have, so you know how many to go around, but you can kind of see, where your yarn went through. And then I cinch that closed gently, don't want to over tighten. I want to keep that top end looking smooth and pretty. And then I'm going to insert my hook down into the center. I'm going to the next stitch over, bringing it through, and this is where I will weave in my ends. Again, make sure that's cinched, and now I'll just as usual, run them in one direction and the other, this way and that. Since this is a variegated, I'm trying to hit where I have the same color, but you don't have to. And then I split the stitch there just to lock that in a bit around behind it, so that splitty part doesn't wind up catching. And then tuck it in somewhere. It's not going to slide, work its way out, especially with this kind of slippery yarn. Alright, so there's that, and then now I'll show you how I join the bottom, and then I'll sew in my ends later that are on the inside, those two where I joined the two yarns together. I'm going to go ahead actually and finish a square knot, which is right over left and then left over right, and then I will take each end and then I'll just tuck that little knot up underneath some of the stitches, so you will not even see or feel them. This is what I do. If you have another method you prefer, do what you like. Alright, I skip the chain 2, insert my hook into the next stitch to bring them together, and then I'm going to go back in the opposite direction, skipping the chain 2 and working over into my first post stitch there. Okay, that brings the two together. It's going to push those chain twos to the back a little bit. I'll go back to the left, back into that first stitch to the left through both loops, draw that in a little bit more, and then I go back one more time through this way. And then what that does is that helps fill it in a little bit at the top too, so you don't have any dips where you joined. Right, and then again go to the back of my work and just start weaving in my ends back and forth, nice and smoothly and gently, no more tugging. And we don't want to over tighten that area because then that will pull it, that top part down. Oops. And then my needle just slipped out, is all, but I will do that a couple more times. Yeah, and that is it. And then sew in the rest, snip snip, and we are done. Yeah, I think that camouflages, it all blends in pretty well. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and will love making, wearing, gifting, or selling your new hat. Okay, so there we are. Have fun. Let me know what you think, please. I really like it. Fits nicely. It's comfortable. Alright, well, then that's it. That's a wrap this time around, my fiber friends. Thank you all, as always, for being here. Until next time, take good care, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.